Well, Susie Pecorski.
Hello, Sam.
Hey, what you doing?
I'm looking for information on the oil boom of the 30s.
Oh, you find some good stuff here?
They have some good things, some pictures and stories.
Articles and stuff,
Articles.
yeah. Well, you know, I've been real interested in that myself, and I was going to come up here and look up some information on it too. But I started thinking that there's one person that lived through that knows more about it than probably anybody else, and that's Seth Dorbandt. I know where he lives. I bet if we went over there, we might be able to catch him.
Great idea.
You want to try it?
Let's go.
Okay, let's go. Susie and I are here with Seth Dorbandt that we were talking about a little earlier, and we were thinking about of all the people in Conroe that would know more about Conroe, you would be right up there at the top. I know you have a lot of stories about Conroe, and I have one story myself about you when you used to run on the track all the time, and I think you were at about your 90th birthday, and you and I were running on the track, and you were running. I said, "Well, Seth, you're running a little more than what you usually do." And you said, "Well, I didn't run my mile as fast as I should have. Now I'm going to punish myself and make me run a little bit more." And I'm thinking, if I can do that at your age, I'm going to be in great shape. So everybody has a lot of admiration for you in many different areas. But we want to come and talk to you about your memories of Conroe and some of the old times. But it's good to see you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, when did you actually come to Conroe, Seth?
In 1932.
32.
Yeah, 31 really. Yeah.
And what did you do when you came here?
Well, when I first I left Southwestern University in Georgetown, and about a month before I got my degree. And of course, in those days, it wasn't too important to get a degree.
Yeah.
And I been with the bank ever since. But I didn't. That'd be. I say I married in January. November. I forgot now which it was.
Yeah.
In 1932, and
So y'all got married in 32.
Yeah, I got married in 32.
Yeah. And you were working for the bank at that time.
Yes, I started then right quick after that. About a month later, and I started to work at the bank, and I've been there ever since up until I retired.
Where was the bank then?
It was on the square on the
up there on Main Street.
And on the old original northeast.
Northeast corner of the square.
Northeast corner, northeast corner of the square. Yeah, where it is, where the old. It's a beautiful building, one-story brick building, and I've forgotten it's Roman style, I think, and very beautiful building.
Yeah,
it's
beautiful
one story. The building was just 20, if I remember correctly, 25 feet wide and 60 feet long. 80 feet long. That was a one-story building, 25 feet wide and 60 feet long. When I started working there.
You saw some changes in the bank, didn't you?
I sure did. Ended up with a pardon.
That old building is still there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful building. It's one of the prettiest buildings on the square, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right now. It's right across from Warrenberger's old store there. Yeah.
Very distinctive.
Right across the street. It used to be Highway 75 between Carter's Drugstore and the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one time going to East Texas Chamber of Commerce convention, in Galveston, and somebody, you had to get up and introduce yourself and where you were from and so forth. So I got up and I said, I'm Seth Dorbandt from Conroe, Texas. And somebody dogged it and said, Conroe. I said, I know where that is. So that's where they have a traffic light over a mud hole. And they did have that. It started during the oil boom. The oil boom was just young men. And they had put a traffic light up there. And it was over, and the street wasn't paved.
Yeah. Well, you came here right in the middle of the Depression.
Oh, yeah, well, yes, I did, yeah.
And, well, was Conroe faring better than most of the country, or?
Oh, yeah, it was then. Oh, man, yeah, you could. The widows in town were renting their bedrooms out to oil field workers, and for $100, $125 a month. And it was a big salary at that time.
Yeah.
Hard, yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother, Miss Cable, had the Birch Hotel over there, and she rented out. I don't know if that was going during the oil boom, but but she'd rent it out to people who'd come in and work in the oil patch.
Yeah. They had Guy Hooper one time. They used to, the widows would maybe they'd get behind with the rent. The renters would, and maybe 2 or 3 weeks behind, and old Guy Hooper would. He was sheriff at the time. He didn't know anything about law too much, but he knew he was the best sheriff, or one of the best sheriffs that we ever had. And he was the best sheriff we could have had during the oil boom.
Yeah.
And some lady would come in, and one of the widows would come in and said, Guy, Mr. Hooper, so and so was behind with his rent, and he, about 2 or 3 weeks. And so Guy would ask him when he gets paid. And he said, well, we get paid on Saturday afternoon, Friday afternoon. And Guy would say, okay. And Guy would be there, and he'd collar him when he got his check, and come bring him in the bank and cash it, and say, now I'm going to take you over and you're going to pay your landlady.
Well, that was, there was a lot of excitement during that time, wasn't there?
Yes, it was.
Was there any riotous living going on at that time? Was any of those people ever get out of hand, like on Friday night or something?
Oh yeah, yeah. We used to have a character there named Buck Pinchback, who was very fine gentleman, but he was. I guess maybe it's probably 60 years old, 65 at the time, and which was old to me at the time. But he would come in on Friday and borrow $50, $75, $100 maybe, and I would let him have it. And I knew him real well, and he was and Uncle Phil Woodson was a bachelor. He was vice president of the bank. He would raise cane with me for letting that guy play poker on. Lend him money, and he'd go to Montgomery and play poker with a bunch on Saturday night. And he'd always pay me back on Sunday, on Monday morning.
Oh, really?
Pay you back.
I never did.
Well, that was a lot of money back then, $50, $75.
Yeah, that's right.
But he'd always pay you back, huh?
That's right.
So I guess you knew your customers pretty well, knew who you could loan to.
Oh, yeah, you knew everybody. Did
you have any, I won't ask you to call names, but did you have some that you were a little hesitant to loan money to?
Oh, well, not too many.
No, really?
Not too many.
Mostly honest,
not too
folks.
many.
Well, that's good.
No, I loaned money to a lot of people that I had confidence in, but nobody else did.
Yeah, and they always appreciate that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and very seldom I lost any money that I made, that I loaned on.
Did you loan money to people to get businesses started?
Oh yes, yes, yes.
What were some of them that you can recall?
Well, in those days, I can't recall one to tell you the dang truth.
But there are a lot of them that you loan money to get their businesses started. Then after their businesses started, then they come back and do business with you.
Oh yes, yeah. We were the only bank there, of course, for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 banks there when I started.
There were 3?
3 banks there.
Oh, I didn't know
That's
that.
right. That's when I started working there.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of them went broke.
Mm-hmm.
And consolidated.
Yeah, because of the Depression?
Because of the Depression, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember they would, after the 3rd one went broke, they left 2. And then I remember Dan Medley came in one time when he was had sold some cattle, and young Dan, and he went across the street to the other bank to deposit,
Mm-hmm.
and the bank didn't open the next morning.
Oh, I'm doggone. Huh.
The bank didn't open the next morning.
Didn't open.
It didn't open.
It's probably good for him it didn't open if he was going to put money into it.
That was funny.
Yeah.
And that just left us. Just left one bank, First National Bank, there in Congo.
And then y'all moved into your new building in the 50s or?
Oh, into the present building?
No, into the one down there on Thompson Street.
No, we never moved out of that building until we built Martin Siemens built the building down there on the northwest corner of the square.
Right.
And we moved into that one.
That was in the 50s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know you and Mr. McLean were always good friends.
Yeah, very good friends.
And I remember, especially at the church, we'd always say, you got Seth, Dan, Cleo, and if anybody ever had any questions, they'd come to you guys. And so, Mr. McLean, was he associated with the bank?
McLean? Oh yeah, he was the bank's attorney for many years until he died.
Yeah. Well, he was. I know he. When did he come to Conroe? About the same time, or?
No, he and Alice Ruth married about 2 or 3, maybe 3 years, 4 years after we did, maybe longer than that. I don't remember.
So you were here before Mr. McLean came.
Yeah, that's right.
What about social events? What kind of social events did they have back there in the 30s and when y'all first?
Well, they had the dance club. I can't remember the name of the thing now.
Was it the Balladine?
Balladine Dance Club. Balladine Dance Club. And that's where, I'll tell you a story about that. Henry Brooks was a friend of Lee Allworth. They went to Texas University together, graduated from law school at Texas University. And Henry was a lawyer in Houston and hung out as single at this, I think, the City National Bank office or something in the building. And Leah Helen had invited him up there to, had invited Henry to come to, Henry and Billy Brooke to come up to the Balladine Dance Club, and we were having it in the Birch, not the Birch,
McGee?
in the Conroe Hotel.
Conroe
Hotel. And so Marshall Hallman and Hildred were there, and they belonged to the dance club, and Marshall made a remark that he would, Henry Brooke made the remark that he would like to get out of the legal business, and he just hung his shingle out, and he didn't want to really practice law, but he said he'd like to have a beer agency. He'd like to buy a beer agency. Marshall Hallman, no, Lee told him, said, well, I know just exactly what you ought to do. You just ought to buy Marshall Hallman out. He was in the Pearl Beer, I think, at the time, and so they got together at the dance and made a deal at the dance that night.
Oh, really?
That's right.
Never heard that story.
And that's how.
How about that? Henry
ended up in the beer business.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Well, that's something.
he's done real well too.
So, yeah, I know. My parents they were in a square dance club. Did you ever go to the square dance?
Square dance? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We used to go to square dance.
Where
I used to call square dance.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I used to call.
Where'd y'all do the square dance?
Oh, out at the. Well, let's see. That old Hunt Lumber Company.
Yeah.
There used to be a dance hall there for somewhere there. The dance hall. You know where
Did you ever do any in Montgomery? Did you ever do any dancing in Montgomery?
No, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't remember where the dance club even met.
Yeah, but y'all had a lot of had to kind of make your own recreation back then. Didn't have a lot of money to.
What?
I say you kind of had to make your own recreation since there wasn't a lot of money to go spend a lot of money on everything.
Yeah, that's true. That was true.
Yeah. So, as you see the changes take place in Conroe, you've seen seen a couple of changes. What's the most dramatic change that you've seen in Conroe that you'd say?
The construction of the Lake Conroe was the most dramatic things. Yeah. That did more for Conroe than any other than Highway 45.
Yeah.
I used to say 75.
Yeah.
But both of them put together really what made Conroe.
Yeah. Well, what about politics? Any special political? We've had some colorful characters.
We had some of the crookedest politicians. I won't name any names. We had some crooked politicians in Conroe, I'll tell you that. Not necessarily all of them, but I just mean some of them.
Yeah, there were some. Well, not. We'll get off the crooked politicians and talk about some interesting politicians. Now I think who is the most interesting politician that you can remember being in Conroe?
The most interesting politician, Guy Hooper.
Guy Hooper, was he? And he was sheriff, and what else was he?
He was being besides being wealthy from the oil field. He was sheriff, and that's the only thing that he ever did. And he owned a cattle ranch.
Yeah,
he owned a cattle ranch.
And he was sheriff for a while.
Oh yeah, he was sheriff. I'll tell you something funny about that too. Here's let's see now. There was a lady, a sheriff, and I can't remember his name now. And his wife, the sheriff died. It wasn't guy died.
Wasn't Anderson, wasn't Hoss Anderson, was it?
Who?
Hoss Anderson?
No. It was, and then his wife was appointed, the sheriff died, and his wife was appointed sheriff.
Uh-huh.
And she served a full term after that, or appointed finished filling out his term. And they, Fanny Pearl, Surratt. Fanny Pearl and the guy's wife, and I can't remember her name now, but they went to New York one time on just to visit. I mean, on a tour, and an old guy came in the bank one day, and he talked always loud and talking always loud. He was a good friend of mine. He said, you know what those women did? Those women did. Said, I've got a telegram here from the top of the Empire State Building. Empire State Building.
Yeah.
They'd gone up and sent a telegram to him from the top of the Empire State Building.
Well, the Empire State Building.
The Empire State Building.
Well, I've heard a lot of interesting stories about T.J. Peel. Did you know T.J.?
Very well. T.J. Peel. I went to bank convention with him one time. He's on the Democratic State Democratic Executive Committee, along with my wife at that time, Helen. And I think it was in Brownwood. I don't know now where it was. And well, I won't tell this.
I was waiting to see what.
Doggone it, that sounds like it's going to be a good one.
Oh boy.
We thought there might be some of those that you couldn't tell about.
Yeah, we said there'll probably be some that we won't want to put on tape.
We'll turn the camera off here in just a little bit.
Well, another name I'd always heard about, and I didn't really know him, but I always heard about F.A. Talley.
F.A. Talley, yeah. He was, he operated the domino parlor. And as far as I'm concerned, he was a reliable man. He was a good man.
Yeah.
And had his reputation was all right as far as I knew.
Yeah.
F.A. Talley. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are there other interesting people that pop up in your mind?
Yeah, Dr. Ingram.
Dr. Ingram. Now I don't know.
I don't know. I remember the name, but I don't know.
Dr. Ingram was he and Dr. Falvey were, as far as I remember, were the only two doctors here at the time. And Dr. Ingram may have been the first doctor, I don't know. But he used to drive a pickup coupe around, and he had his telephone number painted in just a dash, what do you call them?
On the winch, on
his back window, he had a coupe.
Yeah.
One-seater.
Kind of like a rumble seat, kind of.
Yeah, and he had his telephone number was 29. That was his telephone number.
Yeah.
And he had that painted on the back of his windshield, back of his car. You can just see it when you ride up behind him. You just see that 29.
29.
And
well, it worked, I guess.
And people at that time. We had the telephone office was up, Conroe telephone office was up on the square over where the Etheridge building is now, and where
Dr. Mosique used to be.
Yeah, facing north, facing the courthouse, and I forgot the name of we had one telephone operator, and Payne was her name. Payne. And that was all. That was the telephone. Conroe
Yeah.
Telephone Company was
One
consisted
lady.
of one operator.
I mean, my daddy used to pick up the telephone and he'd say yes for even the dial came in. He'd say, "Hello, Central."
Yeah. Well,
I need, and sometimes they say, I need Seth, and they didn't know who you're talking about. She'll just do the plugging in, and
yeah. Well, people would maybe call for Dr. Ingram, and he wouldn't be there. It wouldn't answer his phone, and somebody would then call Minnie Payne. That's the telephone operator. Their name just popped into my mind, Minnie Payne. And Sister just had one operator and said, "Minnie, you know where Dr. Ingram is?" And she'd say, look out the window, look over at the Capital Drugstore, and say, "Yeah, he's standing on the street corner, and you could hear him laugh all over town." He had a loud voice, and like Santa Claus. And she'd say, "He's standing in front of the Capital Drugstore right now talking." So they didn't call Capital Drugstore and asked him to call Dr. Ingram to give him to the phone. See.
Well, you know, Seth, these are just a few of the stories I know that that you know. But if you don't mind, we'd like to come back and pick up some more stories. If you would you mind if we came back again?
No, it'd be fine.
Okay, good. Well, listen, we've really enjoyed it. It's been real interesting and informative, and Conroe owes a debt of gratitude to you and your friends and the people who came along at that time to make us what we are today.
Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Seth.
Okay.
Really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure.